Does Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, bear some responsibility as it relates to, let's just say, the ups and downs of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s tenure with the Redbirds? We're talking that and more today. Johnny Venerable, Brack, Damon, Dawg, and Mina Kimes starting now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming today. I love our friends at Studio K. I'm Johnny Venerable. Damon, Dawg, producer / on-air talent extraordinaire. We got our guy Kyle subbing in for Damon, Dawg. Brack's going to be on the show later when we chat with Mina Kimes. This is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, again, presented by our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why. Whatever the moment, never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. We're going to hear from K1 Kyler Murray, talk a little bit about aspirations this weekend of coming up with a dub. But Damon, Dawg, how we living, my guy?
It's great over here at PHNX HQ on a victory Wednesday. I mean, it's victory all week, Johnny. When you beat the 49ers on the road in particular, I mean, you got to celebrate that for more than just one day.
You know what? Usually I would say, that's a loser mentality. We're on to the next game, but we have not had enough winning weeks like this, so we will milk them for everything that we've got. And while I think that the Cardinals have a real shot to upset the Green Bay Packers this week, I'm with you. Like, Cardinals took care of business. Like, I will never apologize for gloating for multiple days on end from beating that fraud Niner fan base. Like, give me that 10 out of 10 times. San Francisco, my least favorite team and my least favorite fan base in the NFL. So we will milk that 10 ways to Sunday. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for everybody in the chat. Drop a like on this video. Mina Kimes joining us in just a few minutes. Plus, much to my chagrin at Damon, Dawg, we have Holder fold the line today on a football Wednesday.
We absolutely do. I can't wait for that, Johnny. I mean, you've put on just an absolutely generational performance this year on Holder fold the line. Yeah, it's special stuff. We'll see if you can keep your streak alive going into week 6.
I'm not happy about it. I'm also not happy about the usage for one Marvin Harrison Jr. So, full transparency, I was doing some data digging with this team, and specifically MHJ. Marvin Harrison Jr., and this conversation is going to go a couple different ways, but he does lead the Cardinals in targets for the year. So, like, let me just make that known. And if you watched Michael Wilson's interview with myself and Bo yesterday on PHNX Cardinals, I encourage everybody to do so. Michael talked about kind of that process of being the X receiver. You're going to get one-on-one shots. You're not going to have that seamless conversion rate that everybody wants. And I understand that. But Damon, I look at the numbers. He has 35 targets in 5 games. Okay. So you've got a master's degree. You went to U of A. 35 targets in 5 games is roughly 7 targets per game. Perfect. That's what I was looking for, that U of A education. And he's only caught 17 passes this year in 5 games. So there's a disconnect right now. And we're going to hear from Kyler Murray here in a little bit. But, the question that's on everybody's mind right now is, where is the consistency with Marvin Harrison Jr. and K1? And who's to blame? Most of this fan base feels like it's offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see a lot of flashes from this Cardinals offense where, the early, especially the early portions of games, right? The opening drives, they're flawless. Are they the only team in the NFL that scored on every opening drive this season? That alone is like, there's obviously something to that. the scheme that Drew Petzing is dialing up for the scripted part of the game is undeniable. It hasn't not worked one time, but then we start to see the Cardinals offense kind of feels like die out as the game goes on, and that's where the concern really starts to come in. Is it an adjustment thing? Are defensive coordinators thinking 2 steps ahead of Drew Petzing when it comes to halftime adjustments? That's what as Cardinals fans we need to really look into and deep dive at.
We're going to ask Mina Kimes, and you'll get a full answer later in the show when Bo and I chatted with her. But basically, it comes down to, I think Drew Petzing is a good offensive coordinator. There's a reason why we've had Benjamin Albright on the show multiple times, multitude of times, say that like he's going to get interviews this offseason. People think highly of him. Of course, Jonathan Gannon brought him over from Cleveland. Like he was atop their list. And I think he's done an admirable job entering this year. Like the Cardinals offensively, I thought at times last year were very watchable and consumable with even Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. And then they got better and better with K1 at the end of last year. But I did some deep diving last year, and it was so run heavy. And I thought at the time, well, that's a byproduct of the personnel, right? And the talent that you have and you don't have, right? So we're going to run the ball and be conservative. But now I feel like it's time for Drew Petzing to evolve a little bit. Like he was in Cleveland when they, had Kareem Hunt and they had Nick Chubb, and they ran the ball up and down teams, and they had a little bit of Amari Cooper here and there and David Njoku, but they were a run-first team. And he's a disciple of the Kyle Shanahan offense. But what I've seen Kyle Shanahan do is he evolves with his weapons, and he makes them a focal point when they need to be. And you can work off of play action. Like you can't take a player the caliber, the talent of Marvin Harrison Jr., and then go through your, the rigors of your deep-rooted offensive philosophy and say, but, we're still a running team at the end of the day. Because the Cardinals, and this cannot be disputed, are not as efficient running the football as they were last year. So there should be a little bit of a give and take with this philosophy that Petzing has and how they plan to implement Marvin. And he's getting some targets, but where are the easy targets? The short, intermediate throws. He hasn't had one opportunity to run an end around or a jet sweep, something that was very much the norm. Maybe they feel like he can't do it at the NFL level. I happen to disagree, but I would love to see Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. early in a game get a cut. We always hear that term, Damon, easy completions. Where are those? Why are those non-existent for Drew Petzing in this offense when it comes to their best 2 players?
Yeah, I mean, I think that jet touch pass has been implemented into the NFL recently, where it counts as a pass, but it's basically a handoff. Something like that. Just get the ball in the hands of a Marvin Harrison Jr. early in the game, kind of set the tone, get him a little bit more comfortable when it comes to being in the NFL, and I think he still obviously has some rookie jitters from what we've seen, but yeah, the easy completions haven't been there. It'd be one thing if the Cardinals were, as last year when Kyler came back, the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL. But as you mentioned, they're not right now. So, but they've been dialing up the pass, I think, a little bit more, or really a lot more than they were last season when even when Kyler came back. But it just we haven't really seen it sustained and sustainably work throughout the course of 4 quarters, other than when the Rams game where they basically had to stop throwing the ball because there was no need to. I mean, it's interesting that you would expect the pass game to be a lot better. It hasn't been. The run game's gotten a little bit worse. The Cardinals just feel like they have so much talent to work off of here, and I think that's where the expectation level comes in as Cardinals fans. We're all looking at it like they have all the pieces lined up at every position group essentially, but why aren't those pieces fitting perfectly as we currently speak?
You face some good defenses. I'm not going to discredit the schedule that they've seen. There's no cupcake Carolina or Tennessee. There aren't any joke teams on their schedule so far. Washington, unfortunately, is very real at 4-1. But when Kyler Murray's on pace to throw for like 3,200 yards, like something's going on. I would have put my 401k, my life savings on Kyler Murray eclipsing 4,000 yards passing this year. And he's not on pace to do so. So it's not specific to Marv, but if I'm Drew Petzing, like I think, for instance, against the Packers, like, sure, they're going to run the football. They have to throw the ball to win that game. Jordan Love, he's prone to making mistakes. He's got 5 picks this year, but on a dime, he can make a big play in the passing game, and you could be down quick. And the Cardinals need to have that sense of urgency to regain their big explosive plays in the passing game. Here was Kyler Murray. He met with local media today, and he talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the up and down connection that he has with his top receiver right now.
I mean, I just think, we gotta be better. I gotta be better. And they'll come. I mean, that's not it's not a slouch over there. They're a good team. Competitive catches and stuff like that will eventually continue to hit. So I'm not really pressed about it.
And again, he says all the right things. Marvin, especially, we don't have any footage, but he did meet with the media today, and he's just so wholesome. We talked about it. Wholesome Marv. We love to see it. But they're not going to come out and say anything other than, like, we're going to continue to work. And if it wasn't for being tabbed as a generational type of scenario with Marv and the expectations, that I think we'd have a little bit more patience. Like, Michael Wilson went through his ups and downs at last year, and it hit a rookie wall and, reemerged at the end. Nobody questioned that. But with Marv, it's different. With Marv, we all assumed, maybe foolishly, Damon, that there'd be a seamless transition to 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns. Now, he might hit the touchdown number, but I do think that this learning curve and this continuity and consistency, it's just going to have to evolve over time.
Yeah, I think, we're going to talk about it with Mina Kimes in a little bit. And she mentioned also that she saw him as like the most NFL ready wide receiver that she's seen in a really long time. But I think what really makes Cardinals fans look at this is you look over in New York and you see what Malik Neighbors is doing. And I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday was it yesterday? I don't remember. But like Malik Neighbors is the Giants offense. Like when he's out there on the field, the Giants are targeting him incessantly. He's the person that, the broadcast is talking about. And the Cardinals have been a little bit more, here's some James Conner, here's some Michael Wilson, which is a good thing in spurts. But also at the end of the day, we want to see Marvin dominate, right? Like that's what we signed up for this season. So yeah, it's at the same time, like you could point at other weapons on this team, like a Greg Dortch, for example. He's had a pretty quiet season. Trey McBride hasn't made the noise necessarily that he was at the back end of last year when Kyler came back. So it's not just a Marv thing. I think there's a lot of pieces on this team that aren't necessarily playing at the level that I think that we know that they can play at because we've seen it.
Let's hear more from Kyler, this time just on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s targets and the flow of the passing game that, as Damon alluded to, is not synced up yet.
I mean, that's kind of football. Obviously, it's hard to, you want everybody to have 100 yards every game. You want everybody to eat every game, but it's tough to. Sometimes the other team takes away. Sometimes you just don't hit on those days. But when you get those opportunities, you make them count. And I think that was kind of the situation on Sunday. Obviously, Marv had 2 catches, but the 2 catches were probably 2 of the biggest in the game. Mike had a couple more catches. Trey had a couple. Like it was just sometimes the flow of the game.
And again, here's what I'll give Drew Petzing credit is that they've clearly identified that Kyler Murray is, knock on wood, back 100%, that his legs are a weapon, and they're going to use it to exploit opposing front sevens. Like we got a Brian Baldinger interview dropping tomorrow. And the fact that, Petzing and company, they fooled, Dan Orlovsky had a good breakdown on ESPN this morning. The 3 tight end sets, the Niners didn't have an answer for it. And Kyler Murray able to just basically have 6-7 yards whenever he wanted to on the ground. So that's part of Drew Petzing saying, I flubbed up the week before. He had 3 yards. We opened the game. He had a 50-yard touchdown run. So the hope is the more that they see what's working and what's not working, they can lean into that. But the passing game, to me, it's outside of the first half against the Rams, when is this team really going to open it up through the air? Like Kyler Murray hasn't had a 300-yard passing game this year, and maybe they don't need it. Maybe they can, run heavy and play some good defense. But I just feel like with some of these offenses they're going to face here, Chargers, Green Bay Packers, maybe Miami when we're there, if Tua's back, the vertical passing game has to reemerge for this team, Damon.
Yeah, those aren't slouch defenses necessarily either. I know the Dolphins have looked awful, but their defense has actually been pretty solid this season. And I don't think the Packers defense is bad. Xavier McKinney has had an interception in every single game this season. The Chargers defense is actually pretty good. So they're going to need to start hitting on all cylinders more so if they want to, find some more success on the offensive side of the ball. But it's going to start with those creative plays, those easy plays like we talked about. And I think it's the perfect example, the Greg Dortch play where they brought him in motion and then threw him a swing pass out of the backfield for it was a measly gain too. It was like 6 yards or something like that. It wasn't like it popped off for 35 yards, but that's just a type of creativity that I think that has been lacking from a schematic standpoint. Like, let's just see a little bit more motion. Let's get the ball in the hands of a Greg Dortch or a Trey McBride with some blockers out in front. Like, I think that's where Drew Petzing really can open up this offense. And that's where I believe Marv will find more success as well. Like when Kyler's running the football and you got to worry about read options, that, they can't spend the attention on Marv that they might, be spending otherwise. So that's, I think it's a situation where it's kind of symbiotic in that regard. Like, everything will feed off of each other.
Drop a like on this video. The goal, of course, is always 350 likes here on a Football Wednesday. We got Mina Kimes right around the corner. We're going to get to your super chats as well, but more from Kyler Murray, this time with the newly arrival of one Zay Jones, who had been suspended, Damon Dawg. He's back in full capacity on the practice field. Here's K1 talking about the newest addition to the Cardinals receiving room.
Well, I think, Zay's played a lot of football. He's got a great feel for the game as a receiver. He understands. He's played with a lot of different quarterbacks. He grew up in Texas, so I think, growing up in a 7-on-7 culture and just having a feel for zones and being able to win against man, I think he's capable of all that. So I don't think it'll be an issue with Zay.
I mean, I watched a decent amount of training camp this year, and there was a play he made. I was on the sideline, and he ran kind of this go route and beat 2 Cardinal defensive backs and made kind of a juggling catch down the sideline. And I was like, oh, who's that? And it was Zay Jones. And then he did it again. And then there were practice spans where I would text Bo, and Bo's like, Zay Jones hasn't dropped a pass this training camp. And then he gets suspended, and we all forget about him. I forget about him. And it's like, you just mentioned Greg Dortch, who I think he has been a little bit of – he has not been benefacted from this Cardinal passing game not clicking, right? Like, that's hurt Greg Dortch and his production, because most targets go to the big 3, Michael, Marvin, and Trey McBride. And then I think about Zay Jones, who has real size. I think they're going to use Zay Jones underneath. I think he's going to play right away. And I think Zay Jones, 29 years old, like, I know I've said this before, Damon, if Zay Jones was available right now, Kansas City would be calling, Buffalo would be calling. It's a luxury right now. And I wonder, like, with Marv and the inconsistencies that Kyler has hitting him, and, the up and down nature of this passing game, is this a perfect time to introduce a guy like Zay Jones, who clearly, I mean, they cut Chris Moore, who was not a marquee signing this offseason, but they prioritized him. He's a special teamer. He's a glue guy. They cut him because I think they feel like Zay Jones can help their passing game.
Yeah, and another interesting thing about that is, they keep Zay Weaver, right?
Yeah.
With Chris Moore being gone, Zach Pascal kind of takes on just like being the sole special teams guy in that room.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's interesting. Zay Weaver, obviously, there's some potential there. But Zay Jones, getting back to him, like, I think what he really brings to the table is versatility.
Yeah,
because he's the type of guy where I think Marvin and Mike are kind of pigeonholed into their roles as outside receivers, X receiver, Y receiver, and then Greg Dortch is the slot guy. Like, I think Zay Jones, hypothetically, like he seemingly matches up on any of those spots. Like,
yeah,
and that's what he really brings to the table, to the back end of this receiver room. But something Kyler said in there that was interesting to me, and maybe bears a little bit more looking into, but Zay Jones and his family are from Texas. Mm-hmm. They're from Dallas. And I believe Zay Jones' dad played for the Cowboys. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Former football player, spent 10 years in the NFL. And Kyler obviously is also from the Dallas area. So when Kyler said that he grew up in 7-on-7 culture, I wonder if they kind of crossed paths when it came to that. kind of 7-on-7 type of play, and if they already have a prior relationship in that regard.
I know they knew each other, and Zay was made to feel comfortable when he took the visit to Arizona, because if you remember, he took a visit to Dallas, and I'm sure they're kicking themselves. They lose Brandon Cooks, and they're very CD dependent already. He did kind of a free agency tour, and he said, I was most comfortable with Arizona. And we saw his contract. It's minimal. And I think these teams knew kind of behind the scenes he was going to be suspended. And so that maybe allowed the Cardinals to have a little bit more of a luxury to wait on Zay Jones, because they didn't necessarily need him with their depth chart being pretty well sorted out. But yeah, I mean, Zay Jones went to UCLA with the group in California this offseason to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been a part of what they've been doing all offseason. So I don't know, man. He's 29. He's been in the NFL. He's been on a bunch of different teams. Like I something tells me like I was ready to cast aside this move. Like the minute he got suspended, I'm like, well, there's a non-factor. But they clearly have had a plan for him. They knew about this suspension. We've been told since March or April that this could come down. Zay Jones, I don't want to say embraced it, but I hate this term, but like did his time, right? And the league said this is the amount of time. You didn't face criminal charges. The situation itself is not a good one. But from a football standpoint, like Cardinals, I think will operate well with him underneath, and then you let Marvin and Michael play the outside, and then by the way, then you've got Trey McBride. Like that's a very commendable receiving core based off of size and athleticism. Like I think he's going to be active on Sunday. I think he's going to have a role on Sunday. And again, we feel for Chris Moore. I thought the interesting point you made, like Xavier Weaver clearly is part of their long-term plan, and he gives them a skill set from a vertical passing game standpoint that they don't have right now. But all coming back to Drew Petzing. I mean, Zay Jones, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, James Conner, Trey McBride, like figure it out, man. Like this team cannot be averaging 17 points per game. You're not going to get those kind of defensive performances. You're not going to get 3 turnovers every game. Like you got to be able to sustain drives and put touchdowns up. The Packers defensively, they're fine. They're not a great defensive team.
No. Yeah, and when it comes to the Zay Jones, Greg Dortch piece and all of this as well, like I think this would require a little bit more of a smart football mind than me personally and some film study. But
yeah, if
it's determined that Greg Dortch is the reason that he hasn't been super productive this season is because of what he's doing and not what like Kyler just not targeting him or something.
Yeah,
I would say that Zay Jones is the type of player that you can start switching it up. Like he could earn more of a role if moving forward, and that should hypothetically help this offense. Drew Petzing has to. You're right. Like there's so many weapons on this team. On paper, they're all young. They're ascending. None of them are on the downturn of their career. Zay Jones, I mean, he's a little bit older, but the rest of them are all supposed to be getting better and better each week.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we see that growth within the offensive coordinator as well.
Love this comment from our guy, Coach Stark Holmes. Zay Jones could be the passing game spark or equivalent like Michael Carter did to the running game last year. I think that's a great comparison. You would argue team needs Michael Carter right now anyway. But I mean, Drew Petzing got a bevy of toys to play with. It's time to start punching in multiple touchdowns for this offense in lieu of 30-plus points per game. Like Michael Wilson said it on this podcast yesterday, we expect to score 30-plus points per game. This defense is overachieving. Nick Riles has that unit overachieving. I think you could make an argument Cardinals are underachieving offensively even after a dub. Let's get to your super chats. Then we're going to get to our friend of the program, Mina Kimes. Just ask for Joey, $4.99. Thank you so much. Just ask for Joey. How big do the Cardinals have to win to get an iota of national attention? Super excited to hear about how the Packers beat themselves this weekend. A couple different super chats about this today. Basically, Damon, like Cardinals are on ESPN Plus for a reason. A week from Monday night, they're not on ESPN. They were shut out of Sunday Night Football, shut out of Thursday Night Football, which is egregious. Look at some of those games on the schedule. They haven't won a lot. They've won. I think have 10 wins in the past 4 seasons or 3 seasons combined, including this one. But I think Cardinal fans, just ask for Joey, are kind of okay with it. Like bury this team in the early slate, bury this team in the late slate, and let them develop this culture before being pressed onto the national scene. Like we've watched this team crash and burn so much, Damon, with praise. Let's make sure they can handle it first.
From my perspective, at least, like I don't really care about the national media all that much. I care about the voices of people like Brian Baldinger and Mina Kimes, who are both friends of the program, but also very intelligent football
Educated.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
And those, I think, a Mina or a Baldy, they do respect the Cardinals. Baldy, I think, has a lot of respect for this Cardinals coaching staff and the reputations that, Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis and Drew Petzing have around the league. And Mina, I think, really, she's mentioned plenty of times that she really likes the way that Monty Austinfort is building this roster and building this new era of Cardinals football. So I think the people that are informed from a national standpoint, they believe in the Cardinals to an extent, and they think the Cardinals are building something and moving in a positive direction. But like the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, like I just don't really care that they don't want to talk about the Cardinals, that they want to talk about how Brock Purdy is the reason that the Niners lost that game, and all, like they don't want to give credit to the Cardinals defense. That's fine with me. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, I saw Stephen A. Smith recently said that does Marvin Harrison Jr. regret being drafted by the Cardinals because he was underperforming, which is,
I'm sure Marvin in his Paradise Valley mansion that he bought or is renting or whatever, and his beautiful car and the great weather of Arizona. Like I'm sure he's really, really upset right now.
not to jinx it. It's not if, but when Michael Bidwell writes a blank check to Marvin Harrison Jr. Baharo $2. Rams rookie receiver, greater numbers than Marvin in the last 3 games. #coaching. I would agree with that. Now, does that Rams rookie receiver also benefit from no Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua? Probably. And that was kind of always our assessment of Marv in the offseason, where Brian Thomas Jr., top playmaker, you could argue, for Jacksonville, and then certainly Malik Neighbors with the New York Giants. Like Michael Wilson commands attention and footballs because he's earned it. And we saw it Sunday. Same with Trey McBride. Trey McBride right now is having a renaissance tight end season for outside of just the numbers. I saw today he's like the #1 separation tight end in the NFL and is going to continue to eat. So, but there's a place for Marvin every Sunday to have 60+ yards and a touchdown. Like every single Sunday, that should be the baseline barometer. He should not be ignored for quarters on end. Iron, $10 super chat.
Real quick on that, I just want to say that Matthew Stafford absolutely locks in on his top targets.
He does.
And when they don't have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp available, he's got to find someone to throw the football to. I think Tutu Atwell's probably been the #1 guy.
Yeah.
But Whittington had 10 targets for 89 yards last week. That's not like groundbreaking by any stretch. If Marv was the sole target in that Rams offense, like there's no doubt in my mind Sean McVay would be dialing up an offense entirely basically built around just giving Marv 15 targets a game. And like if you would see the numbers that would be in that sort of scenario, it wouldn't even be close to what Whittington is putting up right now.
Drop a like on this video. If you're on Twitter watching, come on over to YouTube and let your voice be heard here. We got Mina Kimes right around the corner. Iron, $10. Damon, did you guys see Good Morning NFL talk about the weekend, saying if the 49ers can win this weekend, they can lead the division, which is untrue, dismissing the chance that the Cardinals could win. Oh, there it is. Feels sad. But you know what? If the 49ers lose, they're 0-3 in the division, and they're 2-4. Like, as great as the roster is, like, can they come back from that? Can you come back from 0-3 in your division? And like, I'm sorry, Damon, like we talked about this off air. They're just not the same. They're kind of fraudulent despite the weapons without McCaffrey. Like Shanahan has a losing record without Christian McCaffrey.
It seems like they need to win this Seahawks game, right? Because
I think they will.
I think they will too. But if the Seahawks pull ahead of the Niners by, what is that, 3 games if they win, and the Niners are 0-3 in the division, that seems like that's going to be a tough hole to crawl out of, to me at least. So, I think the 49ers need to win this weekend. They probably will, but
here are their next couple games.
Whatever.
Though. Let's say they lose to Seattle. Then they go back home and they face the Chiefs, who are off a bye, okay, on October 20th. Then they face Dallas. Then they face Tampa. Then they face the Seahawks again. Then the Packers. Then the Bills. So again, like there are no cupcakes there. Like you can debate the viability of some of those teams, but I mean, like They got to face the Lions late this season. I mean, the Niners schedule gets tough, man. Like, and think about the games that they've won. They beat the Jets, who are huge frauds now, and they beat the Patriots. Those are their wins this year. I mean, that just,
Yeah.
I would love to see just a huge implosion. They're like 7-10.
I mean, you naming that schedule, like I know the Cardinals' start to the season was so brutal in terms of the teams that they've been playing, but and the Niners obviously got the Jets and the Patriots, but
Yeah.
the next games that you just rattle off there, that sounds a lot like that stretch of Cardinal schedule to me. Like that, those are tough games to win.
Is Brock Purdy going to go to, in subsequent weeks, Buffalo and Lambeau and beat those quarterbacks head to head? I don't think so. Han shot first, $4.99. I love this. I'm traveling to Green Bay this weekend to watch our sweet baby Redbirds beat the Packers. I expect the K1 to MHJ connection to be strong. Han shot first. Love that energy. Your boy, Johnny Venerable. I was actually in Lambeau Field the last time that they played. I had my Josh Rosen jersey on with pride, his rookie season in 2018. It snowed that day, and Chase Edmonds scored 2 touchdowns, and they won because Rodgers was terrible. The offense was bad. And then I'm driving home with my dad after the game, and Mike McCarthy literally got fired right after that game. And that was en route to the Cardinals getting the top pick. So we'll keep that same energy. Love to see that. How about Loso? $2, Damon. Please tell me they're not wearing black this week. I think they're going with what I believe are the best uniforms in the NFL, the all whites for the Arizona Cardinals.
I wish on the all whites, the only complaint I have, and I love them, they are icy, but like, could you imagine if instead of that silver, it was the old school blue? Like on the
I
Pat
don't hate
Tillman
that.
jerseys? I think that would be just incredible. But yeah, those jerseys are beautiful.
Some teams can do all white well, like Cincinnati and the Cardinals. Then there are other teams that try to force it. Like I think the Cardinals' color scheme is red and white, so they lean into that with a little bit of black. But yeah, these uniforms, I don't know how anybody can say they're not a massive upgrade over the price. Like watching the Cardinals beat up on the Niners this weekend, and those all whites look fantastic. But yes, Alberto, they got to get a state flag on the sleeve, maybe an alternative uniform. Absolutely. All right, so we got Mina Kimes up next here on PHNX Cardinals. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends. Speaking of friends, Circle K. Let's talk to them. America's thirst stop. Join the Inner Circle for free right now. I've mentioned this before. Circle K's deals, they're the best and worst thing to happen to the Venerable household, because my son's just like, get on the app and let's go get 79-cent Polar Pops, Frosters. I said, maybe a water, mix in a little hydration there. But the snacks of Circle K, I dabble every chance I get. We've got some at the studio. We utilize them aplenty on NFL Sunday. You should too. Join the Inner Circle. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Damon, for more details.
Yeah, and we have a shipment of beautiful Shady Rays sunglasses coming to the office. I'm just throwing this out there. Did you know Saul Bookman stole those? And it wasn't until we called him out that he decided to bring them into the office.
He took all of them?
Well, they shipped to his house, but it's not as funny to say it that way.
Okay.
We're of course very excited over here for our Shady Rays shipment. Just chomping at the bit, on the edge of our seats. I tried to get, at least we had to put 2 options down, but I got another pair of those, like the kind of like golf sunglasses. Just beautiful. Shady Rays, they have it all different types, styles, whatever. And of course, they have the best lost and broken replacement policy in all of eyewear. You're going to want to take advantage of that. If you lose it, if you break it, no questions asked. Shady Rays, they're just going to ask for your order number, and you're just going to say, hey, this is what happened, and they're going to send you a new pair. That you won't get that anywhere else. I know, me personally, sunglasses are like the number one thing that I lose. I seemingly can't keep a pair of sunglasses, and that's where Shady Rays comes in. Haven't had that problem since I switched over. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses, and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Try those Shady Rays. How about try a T or 2 or 5 from the number 18 collection right now at gophnx.com, the ALLCITY Locker. These are new releases. These are available. You can't get a number 18 jersey yet, but how about shop 1 + 18 = 6? A little bit of math. How about a Maserati Marv tee? And of course, the best t-shirt we've ever done, the MHJ Celebratory tee. These are available right now. They're shipping right now. You can get them for free by becoming a diehard at gophnx.com. When you become a diehard, you get 20% off all future merch. If you want to buy them as a one-off, you can too. I got them a part of my regular rotation, and such phenomenal quality of shirt. Again, not 100% cotton throwaway that's going to shrink on the first wash. We get asked all the time, like, what can I do in this shirt? You can sleep in it. You can jog in it. You can wear it and rep it at State Farm Stadium, and it will not fade. They're fantastic. Get them right now. Shop the number 18 collection right now through the ALLCITY Locker. GoPHNX.com. Become a diehard today. Once again here on PHNX Cardinals, host of the Mina Kimes podcast featuring Lenny, ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes, back on the program. And Mina, it's funny with this team. Like, 1 week they're getting housed by Cliff Kingsbury and you want to condemn them, which we have. And then the next week they're upsetting San Fran on the road and suddenly are 2-0 in a division with wins over McVay and Shanahan. Like who are the Cardinals to you right now after, 5 weeks of play?
They're feisty. I think that's the right way to characterize them. They're obviously not a juggernaut, but I think you can confidently say they're past the rebuilding phase, right? Last year. And this is what teams that are right past that phase tend to look like. It's going to be up and down. There's going to be games where the offense looks good. The point of the season, obviously, I think you want to contend for the division, right? Because of the parity and the lack of success other teams are having. But you really want to feel like you're building towards something. And I've felt that way about the Cardinals all year. I never lost hope, guys. So it was good to see this win over San Francisco for a litany of reasons that we can get into.
5 weeks into this, and we do appreciate you holding the line for the Arizona Cardinals 5 weeks into it. We know from personal experience, it's not exactly the easiest thing, but wins like Sunday, it's something we hope we see more of going forward. But when you look at Sunday, one of the few, I guess, negative spots was Marvin Harrison Jr. He did come up with the huge catch on 4th down, 4th and 5. Just, a prayer from Kyler Murray. He comes down with, and it's a huge, opportunity to extend that drive. You got Marv, though, 2 catches on 7 targets. He's had an uneven kind of start to his career. How do you evaluate the 4th overall pick?
It's frustrating to me because it feels right now like the Cardinals offense is what we thought, a lot of what we saw last year, right? In terms of the running game, the multiple tight ends, a lot of the passing concepts. And then Harrison Jr. is just tacked onto it rather than being fully integrated into it. There's way too many low percentage throws to him. I love the fact that Kyler is willing to throw, already has that trust in him, and it has been rewarded, obviously, in some big games, including a couple of weeks ago. But part of the reason why I personally liked Marvin Harrison Jr. so much as a prospect was he's a complete receiver. He can run the entire route tree. He can win at all 3 levels. And it feels like right now, the way he's being deployed in Drew Petzing's offense is too limited. It's too just saying, hey, we're going to do our thing, and then every now and then take a shot to Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's, to me, not the best way to use him.
Just to kind of follow up on that, you can tell when he's running routes right now that there's some uncertainty. Like, there was a moment in the game where Kyler Murray, they had to take a timeout. Marv wasn't lined up correctly. And again, he didn't have a preseason with K1, right? They punted on the preseason, but everything that was touted dating back to the spring, if you remember, is Marv did not do an off season for the draft. It was preparation for the NFL season. He and his dad worked hand in hand. Like, we're going to get ready for the season to avoid kind of those rookie mental mistakes, hitting that rookie wall, where it feels like right now it's, not apples to oranges with Malik Neighbors, but they clearly, their offense in New York runs through Malik Neighbors outside of this week notwithstanding. Whereas, to your point, like with Marvin Harrison Jr., like this painting is not fully done yet. Like, it really feels like they're trying to figure this out on the fly with, oh, by the way, trying to win games.
Yeah, it's odd because the thing that I also thought about him watching in college was he was just so pro ready. He looked like an NFL player out there playing with college kids, even when he was being doubled, as he so often was. And I think maybe I took it for granted. Like, okay, well, he was so polished and so ready, and obviously his lineage is what it is. You're going to go to the NFL and there's not going to be any challenge, and kind of underestimate that, right? Like, we think of the wide receiver position as being one where players always make an immediate impact, but that's not been the case. Even if, obviously the two LSU receivers have been phenomenal early on. Just because Harrison Jr. isn't producing at the same level of them early on doesn't mean he won't. And perhaps there was a little bit more of an onboarding period than people like myself assumed. I'm still a believer in him because of his talent. I do, again, I hear you guys on what you're seeing from him on the field. I do, however, still take a little bit of issue with how he's being deployed. I think Petzing needs to find a way. It's not just about Kyler Murray, like trusting him in those moments. It's also about finding ways to use them a little bit differently. And I'm very curious to see how they approach that going forward.
Let's get into the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray, with the win on Sunday. Wins there against the Niners. Wins off the field, his partnership with the Call of Duty. Shout out trolls out there. As he said, he got the bag. He's doing his own YouTube channel. Mina, I don't know if you've seen this. He did a little Q&A. There's some fantastic answers there. One was about something that you love to celebrate, him embracing his Korean heritage. What are you seeing from the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray? Statistically looking pretty good. 68% completion percentage, 972 yards, 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks, that huge 50-yard rushing score. What do you like from K1?
Yeah, I do wonder if he would have rolled out that Call of Duty video if they hadn't won. I loved it. I thought it was so funny. I have a friend who works for them, and a few years ago, I was like, why don't you guys do a partnership with Kyler? It'd be so funny. And I wonder if he was like a little bit tentative about doing that until you have some success and you're a little bit more comfortable making fun of course, the often mocked homework clause. He's not directly addressing that, but whatever. The confidence is a thing that jumps out. It was actually, by the way, we previewed this game on my show. We do preview every game every week. And when we talked about this one, I had the Cardinals as for my key. And I said, I really want to see Kyler as a runner because it's actually been frustrating to me. I feel like he looks as explosive, agile as ever, but I felt like they were almost holding back. So to see him finally like deployed that way and really, God, that run was so funny too. The way he was celebrating so early in it, it opens up so much in the offense, right? When they can run zone read like that, and it makes everything a little bit easier. It's no coincidence also that I think like James Conner finally gets it going. The run game has been frustrating, so I love what I'm seeing from on the ground. Through the air, it has been a little bit up and down. I won't say he's been perfect, obviously. I think this last game was kind of a microcosm for that. Like there were some really, really good throws, downfield, but there were also some misses and some mistakes. So I feel like he's playing well, but I feel like he could play better moving forward. And I think it's important to remember it's still really early in the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if his best football is ahead of him.
Yeah, to stay on that subject, his passing yardage is down for his career. He's on pace for like 3,200 yards, yet his rushing yards are up. He's on pace for, I think, just over 900 yards. And you look at what Baltimore has done in MVP seasons for Lamar Jackson. And again, you can't compare the body type, but you also can emphasize that, hey, when Lamar runs, right, they win. And it plays off the passing game. I do think there's a hesitancy with Drew Petzing and company to say, like, well, we got to get Kyler through a 17-game season. We're not going to make him susceptible to some of these hits. But at the same time, they need him to run to be able to perform. Like you saw that be an element on Sunday against San Francisco, and they were not ready for that. And it subsequently led to the Cardinals having a pretty efficient offensive day at times.
Well, I think we saw the offense that we thought we would see coming off of last year, right? Their ability to basically dictate to San Francisco with what they were doing on the ground and also their use of personnel to get them into their base defense and then hit them over the top and get the matchups they wanted, not just with the tight ends, but generally off of that under center play action pass, which should be the foundation of this offense. This should be maybe not, well, Baltimore doesn't really they don't do as much under center play action, but this should be a top 3 under center play action team in the NFL. Kyler is comfortable doing that. He throws the ball well off of that. And they have, tight ends who are a legitimate threat to block and actually run routes. Like, they should be excellent at that every week. And I think, Kyler's rushing ability only adds to the run action, which just makes him so much harder to defend. And I think about also just kind of the way defenses are built now. There aren't a lot of defenses around the league that really match up well with that sort of offense right now. So if I'm Arizona, I lean into it as hard as possible. But again, you really need, Michael Wilson was fantastic in this one. If you're going to put 2 tight ends on the field, you really need your 2 wide receivers and Harrison Jr. being one of them to be, much more productive than he's been.
We had a conversation yesterday, Johnny and I, about James Conner, and very quiet first half, just 16 yards, and then he comes out in the second half and it's 70 yards, instrumental in their comeback. The analytics showed that he had 9 missed tackles in that game. He's just been playing at a high level, 29 years old. It was, as you pointed out, it's so important for that run game for this offense to go. What are your thoughts on James Conner? Like Johnny we were talking yesterday, like, could he be a guy that they bring back? Like, we all saw Trey Benson go 66th overall, but he was an afterthought on Sunday. We haven't seen Trey Benson. What do you think about James Conner and the Cardinals at this point?
You mentioned Lamar, and there is a little bit of a Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson dynamic stylistically, right? The types of runs you do, that sort of thunder lightning with him and Murray. I think that's the type of having that type of back in conjunction with Kyler Murray, because of the sort of conflict, the different types of conflicts, they pose for different defenders, is really a good combination. I love James Conner. Obviously we all know, with running backs, what it is in terms of age and production, but honestly, he looks as strong and violent as ever. So I think that would be great for them to keep him around. And it was just so good to see him finally kind of break through yesterday, because it's been the run game has actually been maybe more disappointing even than the unevenness of the passing attack early on for me. And I think that, again, when everything's firing on all cylinders, this is a good run blocking offensive line. You got good tight ends who can block. You got skill players who can block as well, by the way. So he should be as productive as he was against San Francisco versus a lot of defenses, including, by the way, certainly every defense in the division, because all the defenses in this division are not great against the run.
Let's stick there. Final question. We'll get you out of here on this, Mina. Big matchup in the NFC West this upcoming Thursday. How do you size up this division? It's down from years prior. I don't think anybody can dispute that. Is this a division at the end of the year that could be won with 10, 11 games? And like right now, the 2 juggernauts coming into the season are firmly in the basement. The Cardinals have 2 wins over both LA and San Francisco.
Yeah, LA, obviously, with the injury situation, it's hard to be super optimistic there. And then with San Francisco, it's been interesting because, when they weren't that injured against you guys, right? I mean, I know I was joking about this. 31 fan bases are like, oh, boo-hoo, you don't have Christian McCaffrey. You still have a freaking all-star team out there on offense. There's some injuries on defense and some missing players. But I think separate from that, the team is, you really are starting to see the toll of playing in all those Super Bowls, not just the injuries, but, talent walking out the door. And they have lost players, of course, this season. They do seem more vulnerable than they have in years past. I don't think there's a dominant team in this division. Seattle's offense is very good, but they're struggling to protect Geno Smith. And then that defense has a lot of holes and injuries as well. The defense, I think, was going to really struggle to stop if the Cardinals offense is like what we've been describing, with the tight ends, the run game, the play action pass. Seahawks defense does not match up well with them either. And sometimes, that when you have parity like that, guys, football is about matchups, right? And this is why I wouldn't say super optimistic about the Cardinals, but I was intrigued by them coming into this year because they are a very uniquely built team, and thus they match up a lot of defenses around this league just don't match up well with them.
I love I'm shameless as far as the Brock Purdy without Christian McCaffrey memes out there. I mean, it's like him at Subway worker or something like that. It's fantastic. But
hey, don't knock Subway.
Well, I'm not.
Brock Purdy also, come on, Gilbert, Arizona, guys. We gotta defend our guy.
Shout out Perry High School, no doubt about it. It's just unfortunately he plays for the wrong team. Mina, I guess we'll get you out on this. The Jekyll and Hyde of this team, and you kind of touched on it just before there as far as the matchups.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get blown out by Washington, who continues their hot streak out of the gates here, and then you beat San Francisco at home. You're going to historic Lambeau Field. Like, what's your finger on the pulse of this team?
I think that because the offense is unique, they can match up well with any defense if Kyler Murray is playing well and if they can run the ball. Defensively, I'm still pretty skeptical. I'm excited to see Robinson. I saw he was activated, I think. They've just been getting like nothing from that defensive line. The second level, and actually the secondary has been kind of fun, but I just don't think this defensive line is particularly great. But again, because of that offense, which they're in their ability to play ball control, big boy football, I think they can beat anyone. But again, the quarterback has to be playing well.
The Mina Kimes Show, available wherever you get your podcasts right now. Check her out, ESPN NFL analyst. Mina, so gracious with your time. Hope to talk to you soon. Hey, I'm muted. Great to catch up with our friend of the program, Mina Kimes. Did Bo and I really good insight that you can't find anywhere else. Drop a like on this video. We're going to debrief Mina, as well as talk a little hold or fold the line here up next on PHNX Cardinals. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. Just like Mina Kimes, money for our podcast. Take advantage of your financial acumen. Their money for you is Desert Financial, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable household. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And again, it's not a one-stop shop transaction, which they have aplenty with their many locations, but they've also got checking accounts, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. Show your team spirit with the exclusive Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. I rock it early and often. Rep the Red Sea with it. Show your team spirit. Open up a free checking account online. Get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card today. Stop on over. DesertFinancial.com/Cardinals to get started. Again, it takes a matter of minutes to sign up. You'll get your debit card a couple days after the fact in the mail. Trust me, do what I did. Upgrade your financial acumen today with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union.
I was going to hit up my Desert Financial Credit Union analyst and say, hey, what's in my budget for a new vehicle? But I stopped over at Sanderson Ford, and they just said, hey, we'll help you out with that. We got the cheapest vehicles in town, the best deals you could possibly get.
Let's go.
Of course, Sanderson Ford is the biggest Ford dealership in the entire nation at 65 acres. They got a diner on campus. It's just a massive facility. Unbelievable people over there, unbelievable cars. I mean, who doesn't love the beautiful Ford Bronco? You got the all new EV Mustang SUV. You got just the generic Ford Mustang. All kinds of great, beautiful stuff. And then, of course, if you're like Bo, you want an F-350 lifted as big as it can possibly be. Sanderson Ford, they got all different strokes for the different types of folks in the world. And choose Sanderson Ford now and get a new 2024 Ford F-150 with 3.9 APR financing for 60 months plus 1,000 cash back. And if you trade in your Ram truck, get an additional 2,000 cash back, or go all electric in a Mach-E and get 1.9 financing for 72 months plus 500 cash back. Offers OAC from Ford Credit and expire 10/31. I love working with Sanderson Ford because of all the things they do to support our community. On October 16th and 17th, they're going to be sponsoring the Taste of Cave Creek at Stagecoach Village, where you can sample from over 35 local restaurants. I met my guy Austin out in Cave Creek last weekend. Johnny, he came up to me and told me that you were too emotional. You needed to calm down. True story. And of course, get it all with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense at Sanderson Ford. Offers OAC, Ford Credit, expire 10/31 for your next vehicle purchase or lease. Choose a dealership that gives back and pays it forward. Also help us create Hispanic Heritage Month with Dia de los Muertos inspired trunk or treat.
Smooth.
On October 19th. See dealership for details.
The smoothest
Do you like how I
saying
alphaed
it.
you and Bo right there on
That
the Dia
was-
de los Muertos?
That was the most alpha you've ever been to Bo and I. I feel like Bo's is easily the worst, and then mine is probably a C minus, and yours was a strong A. So
Hey man, I'm from Arizona. This is my childhood state, and I got the little bit of white boy Spanish in my bag, but obviously you're a Midwest guy.
I'm
Bo's a
trying.
DMV
I'm
guy.
making an effort. Unlike
doesn't
Bo,
come as
I don't know what
natural.
Bo is doing.
Yeah, it's disrespectful, really, but that's okay.
That is okay. And again, like I got to take my wins when I can get them over Bo, because hold or fold the line has been an embarrassment for your boy. Let's get to it. Week 6 in the NFL, but before we got to look back before we can go forward. 5 weeks in, hold or fold the line. Bo and Damon in the money. Johnny Venerable here on the show. 5 weeks, 5 L's for your boy. Now, if you're new to hold or fold the line, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. I like to get gross with my bets. Not typically. I always take a pretty hefty underdog. Now that's harder this week, because there are some underdogs where I'm like, they're not winning. I can't just for charade pick them. So I'm not going as gross. So I don't want people to think it's a cop out, but I want everybody to go look at the lines on Bet365 today, right now. There's no like significant underdog that stands. I can't make a case for a lot of these teams.
You don't like Browns plus 375 this weekend? You don't believe in the Browns to figure it out?
I hate the Eagles, but the Browns go to Philly this weekend. They might lose by 30. And people are going to be like, see, Sirianni's fine. The Browns are the biggest dumpster in the NFL right now. So no, I can't. There's a lot of that.
Bad.
There's a lot of Panthers underdog. And then I can't pick Arizona yet as an underdog. So, but kudos to you, Damon. You and Bo continue to stay in the money. Now, Bo did take the L last week. Who did you pick last week in week 5?
I had Cowboys money line against the Steelers. Really went down to the wire there. Last play of the game.
Very nice. Well, let's get on with it. We'll do rapid fire here. Hold or fold the line, week 6 here on PHNX Cardinals. Bo is not here to represent himself, but he called us earlier and said, I want Broncos money line, to which we said, dear God, Bo supporting Bo Nix, that is, with Sean Payton and company. Vance Joseph, I'll give him credit, doing a nice job. Are we holding or folding the line? You got the Chargers coming off a bye going to Denver. I am folding. I don't think Justin Herbert versus Bo Nix is a competition. I like Harbaugh off the bye. What say you, Damon Dawg?
I mean, if you look at Justin Herbert's stats versus Bo Nix stats this year, I'm pretty sure it would be a competition, because Justin Herbert is on pace right now, Johnny, for 2,500 passing yards.
That's good.
Which is just unbelievable to me. I don't understand how that. I mean, I know they're changing their philosophy entirely, and I get that, but like that's just not good enough from a guy that has been touted as a generational quarterback, by most people in the national media. So I don't know. I mean, I think that one's really close. I always like taking the home dog, and especially in a divisional game. I think that typically plays out in the direction that you want it to. So with the way that I think it's going to be a really disgusting, low-scoring game. The Broncos defense is good. The Chargers defense is good. I'll take the Broncos in a close one at home, so I'll hold with Bo, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Broncos beat up on the Chargers before the Cardinals host them. And again, this is a 2-game road trip for Jim Harbaugh, albeit here on the West Coast. So I'll fold. Let's take a look at your bet this week. Again, you're Mr. Minus money. Bengals minus 2.5 this week. Again, I almost took the Giants. They're at home this week against what could be the biggest fraud in the NFL in terms of talent versus coaching. Minus 138 for the Bengals against the Giants, traveling on the road with Lou Anarumo's defense. Damon, walk us through your mindset here.
Yeah. I mean, I wish you took the Giants. It would have made me feel even more confident in my pick, because the Giants are currently 2-3. I was discussing this with Bo yesterday when you were behind your back, Johnny. The Giants are 2-3. Right. You've taken them twice on hold or fold the line. They have lost both of those games. So you've been awful picking Giants games this year. So I'm filled with, some confidence going into this one at Bengals. You want to call me Mr. Chalk and say I'm picking all the minus money bets.
You are Chalk boy.
I've hit 2+ money bets in a row. Cowboys and Colts the last 2 weekends, fading the Steelers, by the way. That's what I've taken to the wall last 2 weeks. I just think the Bengals absolutely have to win this game. game. The Giants have played well. Don't get me wrong. I think the Giants are not as bad as anyone really thought they were going to be. But when you look at the Bengals' schedule here, they're obviously 1-4 to start the season. They're a team with playoff aspirations. They play the Giants and the Browns the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If they can scratch their way back to 3-4, they do have a chance at saving their season. But it starts with winning the first game you got on your schedule. 2.5 points isn't a lot. I like the Giants. I think that I like the Bengals against the Giants. The Giants have kept a lot of games close. They've beat the Seahawks, who no one really thought they were going to do. I think Vegas is their line is going to be in favor of the Giants because of how well they've played recently. And I think this is an opportunity for the Bengals to go in there and just like blow them out.
I'll hold with you. I didn't pick the Giants for a reason. The Malik Neighbors may or may not play. They lost Kayvon Thibodeau to an injury. I think they get boat raced by the Giants, frankly, or by the Bengals. Jamar Chase probably can beat him by himself, honestly. Like, he's playing at that kind of level right now, and I just can't bet on the Giants anymore. I've been burned too many times. I'm going to turn my attention, though, to far, far out east with our friends at CHGO Bears, the London Bears, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, first when I saw this line, Bears at home, Bears have won like 15 straight home games, something stupid. But this is not a true home game. This is a London game. The Bears are favored by 2. Now, this line earlier today, I tried to lock it in at plus 200 for hold or fold the line. It has jumped up. A lot of money on Chicago. So Vegas is trying to a lot of money on the Jags. So Vegas is trying to entice people. I think people know what I know, is that the Jaguars, outside of the shellacking by Buffalo, that was not a good game by them. They lost by 37. They have 3 close losses. Miami week 1, they lost by 3. They did lose to a bad Browns team by 5, and then they lost to the Texans by just 4. They beat the Colts last week, and more importantly, their offense got going. They put up 37 points. And as bad as people want to perceive Trevor Lawrence to be this year, he's got 6 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. So, they've got the weapons. We mentioned Brian Thomas Jr. earlier on the show. I think the Bears this week have a kind of come back to earth game. The Bears' schedule, if you haven't looked at it, has been one of the most fraudulent. They beat the Titans, Rams, and Patriots and have lost to the Texans and the Colts. They haven't played a good team yet. They have one of the easiest schedules to start this year. So I am all over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I almost wanted to tease it up to like 4 or 5. So I might do that with Bet365. But I should get credit. That number should be plus 200 when I initially wanted to lock it in. But people know what I know. Jacksonville's beating Chicago in London this weekend.
Yeah, I think just the fact that line is as close as it is kind of makes me feel like the Jaguars are going to win that game.
Yeah.
Interesting note on that is that those are 2 of the most popular teams in England, the Bears and the Jaguars. Really? I mean, the Bears, I think NFL really started getting popular in England in like the 80s. So a lot of the teams that are popular are like the Dolphins, the Bears, like teams like that were good during that time period. And then I think the Patriots' sustained success helped kind of grow NFL over there, as well as the Jaguars kind of being made to be the London team. So should be, some home fans for both teams, really, I would expect. But yeah, I don't know. The Bears, you're right. They've played an awful schedule. The Jaguars they've played some decently close games. I mean, they obviously don't look good, but that line being as close as it is, I feel like it's trying to tell me something, and that's that the Jaguars are going to win that game. I'll hold with you.
Heck yeah, you love to see that. So I'm folding Bo. I'm holding with Damon, and Damon is holding across the board. And we will see. We will also have official Cardinal Packer predictions on the show come Friday with our guy Craig Morgan. Bo will be back then, and we're going to get to your super chats here right around the corner on PHNX Cardinals. But before we do that, we're going to tell you about our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, specifically Wild Horse Pass. The watch parties have been lit, and we keep the momentum going. Can you make it 2 in a row for the Cardinals with us at Gila River? Come out this weekend. Kickoff is at 10 a.m. We're going to be there bright and early. We're going to be having a great time at Arizona's largest sportsbook casino. And again, if you're looking for a staycation beyond just our watch parties, this is the place for you. They've got 4 locations. My favorite's Wild Horse Pass. Lounge at either the AAA 4 Diamond Resorts or let relaxation take charge unbeatable desert and mountain views. I mentioned the sports book. How about 4,500 slots and live table games? The excitement is here with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I tell you, when I walk in there each and every football Sunday, it's like I'm going to a sports bar, but a casino, but a lounge area, a 5-star hotel, all wrapped into one. Again, like you go to some casinos and it's Smoke City, right? It's Mold City. It's not a great vibe. I can't stay at Gila River Resorts long enough, right? I want to be there all day. And good thing for us, that's where our watch parties are. Plus, Suns are white hot right now, albeit in the preseason. Good vibes continuing into the regular season with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Wild Horse Pass. You want to come out. Plus, PHNX does events like this all the time. Become a diehard at gophnx.com. You get money off events. This event, though, it's free. Sign up, RSVP right now. I want to see everybody in the chat. Everybody this weekend, 10 a.m. Let's root on the Arizona Cardinals as they attempt to go on a 2-game winning streak for the first time, Damon Dawg, in the Jonathan Gannon era. You love to see that.
You're going to want to meet us out there at Gila River. It's going to be a great time. We had a great time last week. Custom menu. Does that interest anybody? Ever heard of it? And yeah, guess what? Last week they had some promoters walk around just handing out free drinks to people. I mean, it was an unbelievable viewing experience. You got TVs all the way around you. You could pop down the escalator real quick with your cash, play some roulette, play some blackjack. It doesn't get better than those type of vibes on an NFL Sunday. So meet us out there for a watch party. It's a great time. We like to hang out, and Johnny, me, Bo, we'll buy you a beer if you come out.
That's right. Perfect way to start your Sunday. Before you come out to Gila, go and find, and we'll put a link in the description, the gophnx.com newsletter penned by our newest member of the family, Patrick Brown. He's got a lockstep newsletter that you can't find anywhere else. Encompasses all things Phoenix sports, every single beat that we have. He's repping it, and you can sign up right now for PHNX Daily. Get the newsletter. We're going to drop a link in the description. So fired up to have Patrick Brown. Ever heard of him? Part of the family here. And again, he's got newest newsletter today on on Suns coach Mike Budenholtz, and whether or not the 2-time coach of the year can bring a title to the Valley. Again, find it right now. Get the newsletter. We're leveling up each and every day, and it starts and ends at gophnx.com. Drop a like on this video. I like these super chats. Loso, let's keep it going, my guy or gal. $2. Bo and Johnny and Damon. Did you know this is the NFL's second oldest rivalry? You know, Loso, I didn't. And then I watched the game preview with my son once he got home from school. And it is the oldest rivalry. Damon, do you know which is the second oldest rivalry? Do you know what the oldest rivalry is in the NFL?
Man, I want to say it's somewhere in the same realm.
It is. You're on the right track.
Yeah, Chicago Cardinals, obviously, Green Bay Packers. Like, I think it's got to be kind of in that neck of the woods. So
you've hit almost the nail on the head. It's Bears Cardinals. This doesn't matter what city it is. That's the oldest rivalry in the NFL based on when the team started. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, that is crazy. So the Cardinals that's the thing about the Cardinals that people don't realize is that they've just been around for so long.
They're the oldest NFL franchise.
Yeah.
But they're also the longest team in professional sports, the longest championship drought in pro sports. Once the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. But hopefully that gets changed sooner rather than later. Oh, and $20. How many likes, donations to get JV to show Dennis Gardeck some love face-to-face? Wow. Well, that would require Owen to have Dennis Gardeck be a part of this program, which I don't know if I'd want to subject him to that. Britton Golden to get them together. Defense bailed out our offense so far this season, which no one, including JV, saw coming. Love from the UK. Well, we appreciate you, Owen. All the love. We'd love to get overseas like our friends at CHGO and show some love to our friends in the UK. And maybe the Cardinals will eventually have a game overseas. But Dennis Gardeck has surprised me this year. I worry about his usage. He's not an every down player, but he's a spark plug. Like, the Cardinals have a lot of different tools in their toolbox to help them win games defensively. They do not have, I hate to use this term like alpha. They don't have premier defensive linemen. And I think to make Dennis Gardeck the best version of himself is when he was racking up 7-8 sacks, he was doing it in limited capacity backing up Chandler Jones. And so, like, you get a guy that's a premier edge rusher, and then you supplement a little Dennis. I think you're going to get the best version of Dennis Gardeck. But he's a gamer. They love him in the locker room. I'm happy he's a part of the team. Owen follows it up. How much does the 49ers result cover that generally poor offensive play calling so far this year from Drew Petzing? We got to Damon maximize Marv.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it at the top of the show, right? Like this is I feel like they needed that win. We talked about it with Darius Robinson in particular. Like, do they rush him back a little bit faster if they're sitting at 1-4 and they need to galvanize the fan base a little bit? Like, that Niners result, I think, masks a lot of the problems. Maybe that's kind of a negative viewpoint on it, but it does make us just feel the morale around the team is so much better than the doomsday scenario that would be happening if it was 1-4. And but yeah, you're right. That doesn't fix all the problems in general, and you're not going to get a 50-yard Kyler Murray rushing touchdown every week. So Drew Petzing definitely has to pick it up.
Owen follows it up with another $2. Damon, I love you. Ignore JV hate. You speak for us. I do hate Damon. He will.
I
not,
need all the
never
JV hate. I need it injected directly into my veins. Honestly,
we have a hate relationship. So welcome, Owen. Just ask Joey follows up. Owen, in all seriousness, thank you for the support and your super chats.
Thank you.
Just
Owen.
ask for Joey 199. Excited to put my 401k on the Bears.
Yeah, man. At least you're making some money for the chat at this point. That's all that we can really ask for.
That's hurtful. I am now morally obligated to take the Packers on Friday. Something's got to give at some point. Like, I can't start 0 for 12, can I?
I was thinking about this today, and I'm kind of working in the background on something special for this generational run that you've been on, because I just think I
don't want to see that.
It needs to be magnified and talked about because of just the odds on it. But that being said, like it does seem impossible. Like it feels like you just got to luck into one at some point. Like I could ask a dog or even an unintelligent animal, like a worm. We could have a worm do picks for us, a goldfish, and they would be able to get a W.
It reminds me of when you would take the ACT and people would talk about like, well, you can't get X score to get into X university. And some kid in my grade told me, he's like, Johnny, yeah, be careful. Monkeys get 16s on the ACT. And I'm like, that's always stuck with me. And that's what I think about now. It's like, could a chimpanzee pick the games better than your boy right now?
There's no question a chimpanzee could. No question.
We're going to grind this out and see what happens. I did want to mention this earlier in the show. We talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., his usage. Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, had this to say on MHJ, who remains a talking point. LaFleur saying, I think he's going to be a star in this league for a really long time. And I think it's interesting. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to still build on this year, have a great rookie season. LaFleur knows better than anybody. Go look up Devontae Adams as a rookie. Now, granted, he came from Fresno State, had minimal expectations.
Dude, he sucked as a rookie. I remember that.
Terrible. He was he was unwatchable. He dropped passes.
Yep.
He for the first couple of years of his career, he was like 400 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. is on pace for 1,000 yards and like 14 touchdowns, and people are freaking out. I also saw Marvin Harrison Jr. as the second best separation per route. So all the people are like, he's slow, he can't separate. That's hogwash. I think it's literally, and we're going to talk to Baldy about this tomorrow. I think it's literally like Cardinals didn't have a preseason. He and Kyler are not on the same page. Play calling, comfort level. It's a bunch of stuff, man. And thankfully that they won despite it. But I don't know how much longer you can go without having a vertical passing game that includes Marv and expect to win games. Alfredo, $10. Thank you so much, Alfredo, for the support on that level. PHNX Suns brought me here, but now staying for PHNX Cardinals. Appreciate the content. Go Cards. Well, I appreciate you, Alfredo. Thank you so much for the super chat. We're here every day. Suns is typically at 3. We're at 4:30. And then Suns got a boatload of post-game shows en route. So we're all one big happy family here at PHNX Sports. So we appreciate the support, my guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, typically when you do tune in, you're stuck with Bo Brock and not this beautiful face right in front of you. So that's tough. But speaking of Bo Brock, he also he gave us a live reaction to you saying that what he's doing to the butchering of Dia de los Muertos is just the worst thing, and he's by far the worst out of the three of us. He took some real offense to that, Johnny.
Well, Bo, bone up on your Spanish between now and Friday. Maybe we'll get you one more chance to correct your many errors. In the meantime, everybody drop a like on this video. Big thanks to our friend Mina Kimes. She'll be back later this season, as will Michael Wilson. Can the Michael Wilson Mina Kimes appearance be capped by Baldy? That's tomorrow. Dropping an interview with Brian Baldinger at 4:30, talking all things MHJ, Drew Petzing, etc. And then we've got our big game preview show locked in and ready to go Friday at 4:30. Myself, Damon, Bo, and Craig Morgan, who I love Craig. He's been on the road grinding. Nobody grinds harder. He's been covering Utah hockey, the emotion that came from Coyotes now in Utah, the Utah Hockey Club. Is that what they're called?
Something disgusting like that.
Some gross content coming from Utah. His content's not gross. The vibes around that team scoring 5 goals against the Blackhawks opening night, that's gross. I feel for Coyote fans.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked as looking at Twitter yesterday and seeing all the reaction from Yotes fans. Like, all the vibes are so good for Utah, and like all the young players that all Coyotes fans invested their stock and their future into look incredible. It's just so gross and disgusting. But like you said, Craig Morgan, he's Mr. Worldwide, just going all across the country. We got him we're sending him to Santa Clara. Now he's in Utah. He's going to Green Bay.
Milwaukee, he'll be in Green Bay this weekend.
Yeah. Man, where in the world is Craig Morgan?
That's right. In the meantime, read his article, Utah's first game, a gut-wrenching reminder. I said gross. It's gut-wrenching of what could have been for Coyotes in Arizona. The good news is Cardinals are here, and they're winners, baby, at least for a week. You all are winners. Drop a like on this video. The goal, 350 here on a football Wednesday. Again, Baldy tomorrow. Then we're back on a football Friday. Big thanks, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire. Kyle behind the mic today. Bo Brack will be back. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you on Friday.
We all silly like the mayor.